I'm trying to get organized here. Welcome once again, everyone, to Mary's School of Prophecy. I'm your host, William Tapley, also known as the third eagle of the apocalypse and the co-prophet of these end times. And I think I have a kind of a special treat for you today. I was talking last night with Snowland about the dream that she had back on, let me get the date right here, September the 13th, I think. Let me get my screen adjusted here. September the 13th, when Snowland had this dream. It's really a fascinating dream, and it's very complicated. It has a lot of twists and turns in it. It reminds me very much of Dana Coverstone's latest dream. And he got his dream, I think, just about that exact same time. And I think that they are both Dana's dream and Snowland's dream are directed at Catholics. In fact, the Catholic Church is referenced in both dreams. We know in Dana's dream he received the ashes, just as if it were Ash Wednesday, from the man in white. And in this dream, we see that Snowland is praying the rosary at the very beginning and at the end. Both the beginning and the end of the dream, Snowland is praying the rosary. Now, I do have one regret. I kind of rushed this production today. I really have not. I think there's a lot more to this dream than I have discovered. But, in fact, I was toying with the idea of calling up Snowland again tonight to get answered some of the questions. So what I would like to do is to have you put in your input and see what you think about Snowland's dream. And it's very likely I'll do another one because, as I say, I don't. There's a lot more to this dream than what either Snowland or I, and I don't expect Snowland to know it because she's the prophetess in this case. It's like Dana. I don't expect him to understand his dreams either. And both Dana's and Snowland's dream are what I call apocalyptic prophecy. It's an unusual type of prophecy, and not all prophecy in the Bible is apocalyptic literature. But Snowland's dream is, Dana's dream is, the prophecy of La Salette is apocalyptic. And there are certain rules that follow. One of them is that symbolism is very important. In fact, just about all of Snowland's dream is symbolic. The same way with Dana's dream. Same way with all apocalyptic prophecy. And the other thing is that the person who receives the prophecy, such as the prophet Daniel or Ezekiel or Zechariah in the Old Testament, or Our Lady of La Salette's prophecy, or in this case, Snowland's prophecy, it's not uncommon for the prophet who receives the message not to understand it. In fact, Daniel's prophecy in the Bible is sealed up. In other words, you're not supposed to understand it. Jesus says you have to understand it. So how do you understand it? Well, that's because there is the role of a co-prophet. You need both a prophet and a co-prophet. So let's start this dream because I think it's fascinating, and I think you will agree. And I think Snowland is giving how Catholics are to respond in the end times under the reign of the Antichrist. And that's what we're heading into. I think that's what Snowland is either talking about the time period just before the Antichrist or the Antichrist. Very similar to Dana's dream. Dana is giving us one response of Catholics, and that is to flee. But I think Snowland is giving the other response. Jesus said it would be as in the days of Noah and as in the days of Lot. And I think Snowland is giving us Noah's response for the end times. So let's go through her dream. It's quite a long dream. So now I've got to get used to as you know, I can see I'm doing maybe I'll switch to the new camera, or the old camera, I should say. How's that? I think if I do that, I can control my screen better. As you know, I am both the host and the engineer for this program. So let's go through her dream. And all I have to do is to find the slides, it's not that easy for me to do here. But I think I've got the first slide ready. My dream begins in a hospital waiting room, praying the rosary with a female nurse and a male doctor. When I turned my head to the left, I spotted a packet of papers stapled together on top of a brown desk. I became less attentive to the rosary due to my curiosity about those papers. So I placed the rosary inside my pocket and went up to the desk to grab the papers. As soon as my eyes landed on the first sheet, I read my sister's name in bold letters. So, as I say, everything in apocalyptic prophecy is symbolic. So, what is the waiting room? What is Snowland waiting for? I think she is waiting. In this case, it symbolizes Catholics, because both she and the nurse and the doctor are praying the rosary. I think it symbolizes that they are waiting for the end times, waiting for the reign of the Antichrist. And because they are all praying the rosary, does this hospital, I'm sure it's not a hospital, does it represent the Catholic Church? Now, in Dana's dreams, sometimes the hospital represents the United States. In this case, I'm pretty sure that this hospital represents the Catholic Church. Notice that the desk that the papers are on is brown. And the reason I mention that is because we'll find that the colors brown or black are mentioned a great deal throughout this prophecy. And I think this has to do with the Antichrist, the African queen, as we will find out later on. In this first section that I just read to you, it's interesting how Snowland is really a very compact author. I mean, she's got, if this were a writer doing this dream, I mean, you could have 3 or 4 chapters on each of the things that have already occurred in the dream. So Snowland has discovered a deception here because the people she is praying the rosary with have not told her anything about what's on this desk. And she finds out that her sister's name is on these papers. And yet these people have not revealed this to her. So what I'm wondering is this representative of the Catholic Church not revealing everything, hiding things? And of course, this is what we've discovered about the Catholic Church. All right, let's go to the next slide, if I can get my engineer. He's watching the dream too. I think I'll stick with this camera, people, until maybe the end. I can't maneuver both cameras at the same time. Okay, here's the second part. Being concerned by this matter, I turned my gaze back to the doctor and nurse who were praying with me the rosary, and I questioned them. Why is my sister's name on this piece of paper? They remained silent. So I asked them again. In the papers it stated that my sister is a patient in the hospital where I was praying the rosary. So, obviously, the deception has now become clear. The doctor and the nurse, who are supposedly Catholic, supposedly a Catholic hospital, supposedly they must have some relationship with Snowland. I thought that it's possible they represent her parents, her mother and father. I don't think so, but that's one of the things I wanted to talk with Snowland about, and I never got to do that. So if Snowland, if you're watching this video, maybe you can make a comment like no, they were antagonistic, or they definitely were not my parents, or something like that. That's the kind of thing I would have asked you if I had called you tonight. I think what it does, I don't think it does. I think it represents the leaders of the church, both male and female, who are keeping Catholics in the dark about what is going on in the Catholic Church. So let's look at the third slide I've got here. Why is my sister in the hospital? Where is she? I asked them once again. They both gave me a puzzled look and walked away without saying anything. And I watched the doctor go towards the door, which was a few inches away from the desk where I found the papers. He reached out for the door handle and walked out. The nurse just disappeared. I felt disappointed and angry at the fact that they didn't answer my questions. Just a minute here. I've got to find out where I am. There I am. All right. So now Snowland is asking what any one of us would do. In fact, I think Snowland is representative of Catholics in general. We would all want to know. I mean, she's asking perfectly reasonable questions. It's these church people who are being deceptive. I mean, why is her name on the papers? And they seem to have something to hide. Sounds like to me, and it's Snowland telling us in this dream that the Catholic Church is no longer trustworthy. Okay, let me see where I am here now. I'm going to get here just a minute. I entered a new room, a patient room, into which the earlier doctor entered, and I saw another male doctor. The doctor was resting on a patient's bed with his hands behind his head, with his eyes closed. But as soon as he heard me, he opened his eyes to see me and just stared at me. The bed he was laying on was a mixed reddish-brown color. So it's interesting we see that reference to a brown color again. And as I say, this dream has a lot of twists and turns to it. And she goes into the room and the doctor's, I don't know, is the doctor napping on the bed or sleeping or... And evidently we have a new doctor on the scene now. And is this new doctor going to give her the answer? So let's see what the next part of the dream is. If I can get my slides in order here. The doctor from earlier laid down next to where I was standing, since there were two beds. He was resting on his left side with both hands tucked under his cheek. So I asked both of the doctors, "Where is my sister?" The doctor who was with me on the other room answered that I should relax because she is in good care. Even though he said that, I was worried about my sister. So without hesitation, I demanded to see her at once. So a lot of this dream I found kind of humorous. I mean, these doctors are not acting at all like doctors that you would normally think. They're not at all trying to help Snowland. They're lying down on beds. Anyway, I found a lot about this dream. It was quite humorous. And whereas in the beginning of this dream, the doctor and the nurse and Snowland are obviously thick as thieves, so to speak. They're all three Catholics. They're all praying the rosary. But now we can see a big division among these Catholics. And this deception is what is driving Snowland apart from these doctors, presumably in a Catholic hospital. Okay, let's look at the next slide. If I get my ducks in order here. Have I got the right one? Excuse me a minute. I think I skipped one. No, that's right. Okay, I'll get there, people. The doctor sighed in annoyance since he didn't want to get up, but then he did. Without leaving the room, the doctor walked towards another door that was next to the bed, not the exit door. I was standing in front of the exit door. He opened the other white interior door and went inside while I followed him. So it would seem that Snowland's persistence is paying off. She keeps after these doctors who obviously don't want to help her. And it reminds me about the Catholic hierarchy in the last 25 or 30 years. People have been going after them. People like Michael Voris, and demanding answers. What's going on in the church? Why are we having all of these horrible scandals? And I think it's also is a reference to praying the rosary as a way to get God's attention, and that is through repetition. And you keep after them. And finally, what's going on in the church is being exposed. And I think that's what Snowland is finally going to find out, what's going on in this dream of hers. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Another room came into view. and I watched the doctor take some antibacterial wipes, I don't remember the brand, which was on top of a small black table on our left side. In front of us, there was a stainless steel square door that looked like it was from a morgue. He reached for the latch and opened the door, grabbed the handle, and pulled out a bed. In my surprise, my sister was laying on it. I was more shocked to see my big sister was alive instead of dead. She wasn't wearing any hospital clothes, but the normal, everyday clothes that she wears. So the first thing, notice that the table's color is black. I think this all has to do with the African queen, which we will meet in a little while. The color black and brown is very common in this dream of hers. So now we find out why the hospital has been reluctant to show Snowland what's been going on. They didn't want to let her know that her sister was locked up in a morgue-like bed. And, of course, we can say that that's what has been going on in the Catholic Church. The Church has been hiding a lot of horrible things. And it's all coming out. And I think that's, in a way, what this first part of the dream is about. Okay, let's look at the next slide that I've got here. The doctor began to wipe down her clothes, but they made no contact with her skin. I asked, why is she in this hospital? What's her condition? The doctor looked up and said that my sister has malaria. I got so mad at him and just about everyone in the hospital who treated my sister horribly. So I grabbed her by the shoulders and told him, I'll be taking her to a better hospital. As I said this, my sister stood up from the morgue-looking bed. And so, as I say, this dream has all kinds of twists and turns to it. And so it's interesting that as soon as Snowland says she's going to take her to a better hospital, her sister sits up on the bed, the morgue bed, and she improves as soon as Snowland makes her announces her decision to take her out of the hospital. And a thought occurred to me that are we like the sister who's in the morgue bed, and that we hear a call that we're going to leave, then that perks us right up. In other words, does restoring our spiritual health require leaving the Catholic Church? Is that what this hospital, which is obviously got all kinds of flaws, is that what we need to do also? And of course, Jesus tells us that in Matthew 24, that in the end times, that is what we do. Excuse me. Okay, let's go to the next slide. I think this dream is fascinating. Okay, I walked out with her, and we walked towards the exit. As we were walking out, we began to get dirty looks from the hospital staff, which bothered me. The stares we received were telling me, you shouldn't have done that. Also, I noticed that my sister was out of it, like she was a zombie. She did not respond. It was horrible. So that's kind of interesting that Snowland's sister is acting like a zombie. Of course, Our Lady of La Salette refers to zombies in that prophecy. And I think a lot of Catholics in the church today do act like zombies. They take mandates from the government as if it were dogma. They don't think on their own. And so it's interesting that now Snowland is about to leave the hospital, and she's going to be on her own. I think a lot of Catholics are going to be the same way. And, of course, Jesus said in the end times that when you see the abomination of desolation, that we Catholics will flee the field. And Jesus said, don't go back to take your cloaks. And that's a prophecy about us. It's interesting that neither Dana's dream nor Snowland's dream has a word to say about Protestants and the rapture. And that includes Dana Coverstone's dream. Nothing, not a word about the rapture. Nor about the 144,000 Jews who are converted. Neither of these dreams. Both of these dreams have to do with remnant Catholics, which is, I think, why I'm interested in this dream. Okay, let's look at the next slide. We reached the exit, and we went towards a car that was parked by the curb of the street. I placed my sister inside the passenger door, and I went to the driver's side and drove off with her. I found this odd since in real life I don't own a car, nor do I drive. I think, but I don't remember exactly in my dream, I brought my sister to another hospital with better care. I don't remember which hospital or where. So it's kind of interesting that Snowland suddenly knows how to drive. As I say, there's a lot of parts of this dream that I thought was humorous. Does she get graces when she decides to leave the hospital or leave the Catholic Church? Will we, when we leave to go in the field, will we receive graces to survive? Learning how to drive, for example. And this also indicates to me that this person, Snowland in this dream, is not just Snowland. And I think the same with Dana's dream. When I interpreted Dana's dream, I thought it was a warning to Dana personally, and now I'm not sure about that. I think Dana was a stand-in for the Catholic hierarchy, myself. They're the ones that have lost spiritual direction. I think his dream is all about Catholics. I think this dream is all about Catholics. Okay, let's look at the next slide that I've got. So I relaxed, knowing my sister would have better treatment than the hospital before. I ended up driving all day until it became dark. I took notice of a tree that was bent with a crack on the side that indicated that it was going to break soon. So I parked a few feet away from the tree and got out. I walked over to the tree and climbed on top of it. Like I say, all kinds of twists and turns. This would make a good story, wouldn't it? Anyway, if I were Mel Gibson, I would make a movie out of this dream. So now we see Snowland is on her own. She's left her sister at a better hospital. And I think a lot of Catholics are going to be like this during the tribulation. Notice as she drives all day. I don't know if she's searching for something or not. She didn't. If I had called her again tonight, I would have asked her if she felt that she was searching for something. Maybe that's one of the things she can put in the chat if she wants to. And the darkness that she is driving into, in my opinion, symbolizes the tribulation. Now, it's interesting that she's attracted to this tree, which has serious flaws. Now, Snowland has left the Catholic Church, symbolically. Does this tree represent a flawed church? Is she going to be attracted to? In the Bible, trees represent prominent persons. Sometimes they represent bishops, for example, or princes. And when she climbs on top, that means that she is accepting this tree's support or leadership, even though it is a flawed tree in quite a few places. And the tree that she has climbed is about to fall over. So let's see what she says next in her dream. Since the tree was so high, I spotted a highway a few meters away. I was thinking about Japanese anime. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, anime. Animation, in other words. And suddenly I thought about jumping and ending it all. Don't ask why, I don't know. It was just part of my dream. I was about to jump when a bus stops right under the tree, causing me to say, God doesn't want me to end my life just yet. So Snowland wanting to commit suicide is one of the shocking twists in this whole story. And another reason why I don't believe Snowland, this is actually about Snowland. In other words, I think she represents typical Catholics, or some Catholics. I think suicide will be one of the things Catholics will think of doing in the desert. The fact that she is suddenly thinks about Japanese anime. I don't know what that is. I know what it is, but I don't know how to pronounce it. But that would represent to me frivolous entertainment. I think that's one of the things Catholics may turn to in the desert. And maybe that is what causes her to want to commit suicide. And what I think we see in this dream is that it's unlike Dana's dream, where the fleeing Catholics find refuge. Snowland does not find refuge. She found a tree that is not safe and that she wants to get out of. So that's why I think that Snowland is giving us a different approach to the end times for we Catholics. She's giving us our Lord's, Jesus said it would be as in the days of Noah and as in the days of Lot. I think Dana's dream told us how we would respond as in the days of Lot, that is fleeing. Whereas in Snowland's dream, I think she is looking for staying in place for refuge. And I think this is very likely true for Snowland personally, too. It may be a message to her as well as to the rest of us. Okay, let's look at the next chat, the next slide that I've got. Just a minute while I engineer the next slide into position. I got scared and went back to the car. I started the car and drove off when I noticed blue and red lights flashing. I knew I was in trouble with the authorities. I passed by 3 unmarked cream-colored vans that seemed suspicious to me. Each van looked like it had a satellite on top. The vans were parked on the shoulder. As I drove by for a brief second, I caught sight of one of the men sitting in the driver's seat. He had some kind of microphone attached to his ear, but he wasn't speaking. I could probably do a whole program just on this one section. This is a very sparsely written dream. So she leaves the flawed tree, which is understandable. She has given up ideas of suicide. She sees the bus. I'm not sure. I asked her about the bus. I'm not sure why the bus would make her want to get out of the tree. And now she sees the police car with red and blue flashing lights. I think we're going to find that this is not, the police in this particular dream are not like the helicopter in Dana's dream. And the helicopter in Dana's dream was very threatening, of course. And we knew that the people seeking the refuge were in danger of their lives. I don't get that feeling with Snowland. I mean, the police are going to, they symbolize authority, but not necessarily persecution, like in fact, the blue lights, I think that could represent Mary. The red lights could represent Jesus. Those 2 colors represent Jesus and Mary. The 3 vans could symbolize the Trinity. So I don't think that the police car or the vans are the same as the helicopter in Dana's dream. Okay, let's look at the next slide I've got here. As you can see, this is a long dream that Snowland had. After a few more seconds, the next thing I knew, I was being chased down by those vans and the police until they got me surrounded, and I stopped willingly since I knew that somehow I was in trouble. I stepped out of my car, but I don't remember if I put my hands up. The police walked me all the way to the police station without placing me inside a police car, nor did they handcuff me. So you can see that her arrest here, I guess it's an arrest, is quite benign. Wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you say it's quite benign? They don't put handcuffs on her. She doesn't even have to get into a police car. She said she did have to walk all the way to the police. And this was one of the things I was going to ask Snowland about, if this was a long walk that she had, and I was going to ask Snowland if she felt threatened by these police, and I forgot to ask her that. But it seems to me that just on the face of it, from what she said, what she wrote out, it did not seem to me that these police or the vans, I mean, they are arresting her, but it's not a horrible situation. I think for some Catholics will find that going through the tribulation, they will be able to survive without a lot of, without the drama that we found in Dana's dream. Okay, the next slide. Once inside the police station, They finally remembered to put handcuffs on me. We went to a checkpoint where they asked me questions. I was arrested because I took my sister out of the hospital. They gave me unicorn, and rainbow stickers. I went to a maximum security prison without a trial, or a judge, or a lawyer. Well, what does that remind you of? No judge, no trial, no lawyer? I don't know. This sounds like a Democrat prison if I ever heard one. Isn't that exactly how the January 6th protesters are being treated? And but it's still, as I say, you don't get the idea that she's really threatened. I mean, I get the feeling that she's threatened, but not nearly as much as in Dana's dream. And I'm not at all sure about what the unicorn or rainbow stickers represent. I don't think it represents the mark of the beast. For one thing, there are two aspects of it, and I don't see that with the mark of the beast. Although the mark of the beast is put on the forehead or on the right hand, these stickers don't go on the forehead or the right hand, as we'll see. If I had more time to study this dream, I think I could probably figure out what they represent. Now, the unicorn would be a masculine symbol. I thought about that too. The rainbow, of course, would be like a trans-masculine symbol or a feminine symbol, as we know, but not in the Bible. The rainbow in the Bible represents God's covenant with mankind, that he's not going to destroy us by water again. The unicorn in medieval iconography represented Jesus, for example. I think I've got that right. If I remember correctly from my art history studies at Columbia when I went to college, I believe in the medieval times Jesus was sometimes represented by a unicorn. As I say, I'm not sure about this. I'd like to have your ideas. What do you think the unicorn and the rainbow sticker represent? This dream has more twists and turns to it. This is more interesting than Dana's dreams. Okay, next slide. They took me down a hallway, and I saw a prison inmate who was African American. She had the unicorn and rainbow sticker on her cheek. She just stared and didn't say anything to me. I wanted to place the stickers on my shirt, since they had taken off the handcuffs. I placed the stickers on my shirt, thinking it was some kind of code. During this progress of my dream, I felt uneasy and on edge. So here we see that Snowland does feel uneasy and on edge, she says. So it could be that she does feel threatened in this process. Notice she mentions an African American woman, I presume an inmate. Again, I would say that's leading up to the African queen that we will meet in a few minutes. Notice that this prison inmate put the sticker on her. Where did she put it? Oh, on her cheek. The unicorn and the rainbow sticker she put on her cheek. So that's another reason I don't think this represents the mark of the beast. Snowland said it was some kind of code. Well, if it is, I haven't been able to figure it out. I would like to figure it out. And I think if I had another couple of days to study this dream, I might have been able to figure it out. Okay, let's look at the next slide I've got here. So far, I don't think the engineer is doing too bad a job. 19. As I continued to walk down the hallway, I took a right, and the guard next to me grabbed my arm and placed me inside the cafeteria. There were big oval-shaped tables, and everyone was eating and chatting. One woman looks my way and stands up to walk over towards me. She was an African-American woman. She spoke loudly in an evil way. Hey, this is my domain. I am the queen around here. Anything I want is what I get. You have to listen to me. I got down on my knees because I didn't want to start any drama with her or do anything that would get her upset. So here's several more amazing twists and turns to Snowland's dream. First of all, I can't believe that she would get down on her knees in front of this evil figure, which Snowland admits is evil. I asked Snowland last night who she thought this person was. And, of course, that's the title of this program, The African Queen. And she thought that Jezebel. That was her opinion. And the reason I asked her is because that's the first thing I thought of when I read her dream, was that this represents Jezebel. Now, Jezebel is interested in Bible prophecy because she is the only female precursor of the Antichrist. And that's one of the reasons I say the Antichrist has to be male. Well, how do we know that this person is really male? I mean, we've already had the rainbow flag. How do we know this isn't a trans person, for example? It's interesting that this person, this African queen, I don't know if any of you are aware of this, but Michael Voris did a program on the person he calls the African queen. Well, I want to show you some pictures of the African queen, according to Michael Voris. And I'm wondering if this person who is talking to Snowland in her dream is the African queen of Michael Voris. Now, let me show you this picture. This is the famous Jacinta picture from Bayside. And if you turn the picture this way, and I've showed you this before, but I'll show it again. The top part of this picture is a map of the United States. Can you see that? So this photograph is a prophecy about the United States. Well, if you turn it this way, the other side of the United States, there is a person here, the outline of a person. And I've always recognized that. And I used to think it was Pope John Paul II because the person has a mitre. You can't see it too well, but there's a mitre on top of his head. Well, one of our, it was Paula. I think some of you know who Paula was. She used to be a regular on our program. Identified that as Bishop Wilton Gregory, who Michael Voris calls the African Queen. He is an African-American cardinal in the Roman Catholic Church, a great friend of Pope Francis, by the way. Well, if you look at this outline, you not only have an image of Bishop Cardinal Wilton Gregory now, but also Satan coming here. See that point on his beard? And then this is what Paula drew up. And you can see how Cardinal Wilton Gregory fits that image of the Jacinta photograph. And you can see how Satan is whispering in his ear, coming in from the side. Notice the small ears on the outline, just like Wilton Gregory. Notice his chubby cheeks that he's got, very much like the outline on the Jacinta photograph. And so, of course, I immediately thought of that when I saw this African queen. I thought of Michael Voris. And that's another reason I wonder whether this person is actually female that Snowland sees, what I call the African queen. Now, could it be that Bishop Gregory, I keep saying bishop, he used to be bishop, Cardinal Wilton Gregory, is the Antichrist? Well, I really don't think he is, to tell you the truth. Could he be the false prophet? That Canadian priest, what's his name? Father Michel Rodrigue says that Pope Francis, he believes that Pope Francis will repent. If that's true, and if he resigns, by the way, I saw a picture of him today in a wheelchair. Did you see that? Pope Francis in a wheelchair greeting people. It's possible that his health is failing him. If he did resign, well, which is what we've been praying for on this channel for a long time, it could be that there will be another pope who will fulfill the role of the false prophet even better than Pope Francis. Could it be that this dream of Snowland is telling us that the next pope, the false prophet, will be Cardinal Wilton Gregory? He is the African queen. All right. Now, the other thing I thought of is that ever since I've been on YouTube for 13 years now, over 13 years, I've had to respond to people saying that the Antichrist is Barack Obama. So is Barack Obama the African queen? I really don't think so. I've said over and over again that Barack Obama is not the Antichrist. And the reason is because he's already in the Bible as the leopard. He is the leopard in Daniel chapter number 7. I really don't think that he fulfills two roles. He could. I'm not saying that he absolutely is not. And all the people who are on YouTube who have put up videos, a lot of them, I have asked them, okay, since you know who the Antichrist is, who are the first three beasts in Daniel 7? And of course, they can't answer that. They don't know who the first three beasts are. But if they claim they know who the Antichrist is, they certainly should know who the first three beasts in Daniel 7 are, because they come before the Antichrist. Okay, now, what was shocking to me in this section of her dream is that Snowland kneels down in front of this Antichrist figure. That's one of the things I wanted to ask Snowland. I did ask her about it, but I should have pinned her down on this. Why in the world would you kneel down? Well, she did kind of tell me. She said she goes along, how do you get along to go along, or go along to get along? I forget how that saying goes. But throughout this dream, you'll see that Snowland does not put up any kind of a fight. And when the police surround her, she said she went along with them willingly. The only time she really gave people grief was when they were hiding her sister on her back in the Catholic hospital. So I don't know what to say about this. Maybe Snowland, if you want to comment on here, why in the world would you? Well, I know. She said she didn't want to cause drama with this Antichrist figure. Okay, let's look at the next slide. We're coming near the end, coming very near the end of her dream, because this is going to come to a climax here. Snowland says, I got back up and didn't say anything to her. I walked over to the back of the cafeteria. I took a seat, and I started to get hungry. I went over where they served food, but they were passing out art projects instead of food. So I thought to myself, well, I might as well paint. I grabbed a plate and an already colored paintbrush. I took a seat next to the serving area, but didn't do anything with it. I was so hungry. Well, this is just one more comical, to me, aspect of this dream of Snowland's. She goes over where they're passing out food, and she gets an art project instead of food. Well, this is a typical New Age response, a liberal response. You know, people want food. We'll give them an art project instead. You know, what Marie Antoinette says, people want bread. We'll let them eat cake. So this person that's clueless, or whoever's running the cafeteria in this prison, says, well, let them have art. That's all I could think of. And she takes a paintbrush that's already been painted with. So anyway, so she takes it. She takes the art project instead of the food. So let me see what she does next. So the next slide, let me get to the next slide. So I got up, and I don't remember who or how, but I must have gotten food. And I went back to my seat to see a white woman took my seat. I was not going to fight over a seat, so I took a seat next to her. I looked up straight ahead and spotted a red-headed woman coming in with two white men. They took a seat next to me. I just ate my food in peace. The man stood up next to me and demanded a piece of my food. Give me a king, he said. I looked down at my food, my bowl of food. I could give you a sausage, I said. I can't help but think this is funny. Now, notice how Snowland is about as agreeable as she can be. And everybody's always dumping on her. Here, the white woman has come over and taken her seat. Then it doesn't bother Snowland. She just sits down next to her. And now this guy, one of the guys that's with the white woman, he wants the piece of her food, and he says, give me a king. And Snowland looks down at her bowl of food, and she says, I could give you a sausage. I don't know. I shouldn't laugh at Snowland's dream, but there's so much of this dream that's humorous like this. Maybe the Lord is trying to tell us that, if we look at the bright side of things, it's not going to be that awful. We can survive during the millennium, during the tribulation period. We have to give in to the unreasonable demands of the people in authority. Even when if the Antichrist wants to raise taxes, which they will, just like the deep state will do now, that we pay the taxes. We render under Caesar, for example. And, okay, let's look at the next slide. I really got a kick out of Snowland's dream here. Next one. Let me go here. Let's go, engineer. What's the next? Have you got the next one? All right, let's go. Ready to go here. Slide 22. They looked puzzled as to why I would give him a chopped sausage instead of a king. For reference, I have no idea what a king is as food. Give me a drumstick. It's called a king, he said. I was still puzzled by this, but I simply told him, oh, okay, take it. He took it and ate it. So once again, Snowland is the peacemaker here. The guy wants a drumstick. She says, oh, sure, go ahead, take it. And it's interesting that she is agitated throughout this dream, and she always gives in. And in a way I can understand. We know from the Bible that God appoints the Antichrist. And he appoints the false prophet. We know that. He states that very clearly in Daniel 4 and in Jeremiah 23. God says, I will feed them wormwood. I will appoint the basest man over them. And by extension, he appoints the 10 horns of the Antichrist, the 10 sons of Haman, all the leaders of the world. God is going to put them in their places. Why should we fight that? How can we fight that? And I sympathize entirely with Snowland. She's agreeable to everybody. Whatever they want, she does. Okay, do this, do that. She does it. And I think that this is one of the, as I say, Dana's dream is about Catholics who flee, and Snowland's dream is about Catholics who stay, and what our response should be under a society run by the deep state. And as I say, it's not, a lot of people, and you watch the videos all over, it's assuming that we're going to fight the deep state. No, we're not. We can't fight the deep state. It's not our place to. God is going to take care of this situation. He does give us weapons, as we'll see in a minute. Okay, this is the last slide. Let me find this on my slide list. I heard the ladies on my left side where the queen lady was partake in evil, horrid, nasty, satanic things, rated R type things. That's all I'm saying about that. I went to check my pocket, and behold, I still had my rosary. I knew it was time to call upon the Lord right there and then. I woke up from my dream. Fascinating dream, Snowland. I really enjoyed it, and I would like to have spent more time on it. I really probably should have called you again tonight instead of jumping into this, but I wanted to get it out there because I wanted to have other people's input on what all these things mean. There's a lot of complicated imagery in this. I think it has to do with Catholics, and I think I've gotten it basically understood, or I wouldn't have done this. The dream starts and ends with Snowland praying the rosary. We see that this African queen is showing her evil side in this last part of it. When Snowland recognizes how evil that she is, what does Snowland do? She doesn't go over and hit her on the head. She doesn't go over and cause a scene. She takes out her rosary. And I think that's interesting. Now, the Antichrist, as I have said in this program, could be a trans or something unusual, because in the Bible, in Daniel 11, verse 37, Daniel describes the Antichrist as following the lust of women. Now that's in the Douay Rheims. The exact same verse is translated in the King James as saying he doesn't have any regard for women. Now, I don't know how you can reconcile those two translations, but I think that we can admit, or at least we can consider, that the Antichrist has some kind of problem with women, some kind of relationship with women that's not normal. And it could be that he is, in other words, this person is not a real female. That's what I am suggesting. And I'm not really sure that if this person is an Antichrist, certainly a prefigure of the Antichrist, or if this person is a prefigure of the false prophet. In any event, I think what her dream is telling us is an alternate way to survive the Antichrist. In Snowland, in Dana's dream, the Catholics survive by finding a refuge. In here, they seem to go along to get along to go along. How does that go? So I think that's what the Lord is telling us through Snowland's dream. It's interesting that both dreams were. I'll bet Dana had his dream exact same night that Snowland had her dream. I would not be surprised. He didn't say exactly which night he had his dream. It was around that time. I said in my interpretation of Dana's dream that it was between the 9th and the 11th, but I was trying to find a correlation with 9/11. That's not what Dana said. He said like it was a week and a half before he did the video, which was about September 13th. So I think these two dreams, Dana's dream and Snowland's dream, are two sides of the same coin. And at least that's my opinion. So I'm interested in what everyone else has to say. And thank you so much, Snowland, especially for sending me. If you get any more dreams, or if you have any ideas, have I missed anything, Snowland? Just put in the comments if you think that I misinterpreted something, or if I said things that was not right. Now let me see. I've got to, as you know, I am playing with two different cameras. I have to get my screen here, so now I have to look and see what's on the chat. Okay. I think I'll start at the beginning of the chat. I don't know how else to do this. Let me see. Adam and Nancy lead off here. They always watch my decodes. They're very much interested in it. Thanks, Adam and Nancy. Maria Bonadura is here. Sayako is here. Now, Sayako is the sister who Snowland was trying to save from the hospital. These are real people in this dream. Although, as I say, I think Snowland actually symbolizes various Catholic responses. Sayako says, God bless. Waiting to see how my sister's dream related to the end times. Well, that's my interpretation. And I'm really interested in what, especially the details. There's so many details in this dream. I mean, you could talk about it for hours and hours. IPC channel is here and says, hello, everyone. Sayako says, nice title, Mr. D. It rhymes. Oh, yeah, what was my title again? Snowland's Dream, the African Queen. Well, I think that was fairly accurate. Abdel Ruiz is present. Tony Garcia. I had a dream about 5 days ago that we were surrounded by tornadoes and a lot of dust. Not sure what that could mean, but I was scared. Laugh out loud. Well, Tony's in Texas, so that dream may come true also. Sayako says, the difference between my sister and Dana is that God can have my sister do the rosary in her dream. Okay. But for Dana, it's symbolism because he doesn't accept it. Oh, that's a good point. The rosary is found in Dana's dream, but as you say, it's through numerology. The number 50, or the number 3 times 10, 30. You're right, that's a good point. Same way with the scapular in Dana's dream. It's found there symbolically. But in Snowland's dream, she can come right out and say that she's praying the rosary, as she did at the beginning and at the end of the dream. Sayako says, actually, I was the one who edited it because her original draft was not that detailed. Oh, okay. I'm sure there's even more details. Because when I talked with her last night, she told me more details. And I probably should have called her up and fleshed it out even more than what I've got here. But it's very possible I will do another video on this. Because I think, I bet you that I could compare Snowland's dream with Dana's dream and find exact comparisons. Sayako says, I write a lot of fiction books. So when I was editing, I had to ask her what color and such. Oh, okay. I didn't know you wrote fiction books, Sayako. Sayako said, my sister said, no, our parents were not involved. Okay. I was going to ask her that. But it's a kind of a shot in the dark. But Snowland says, my sister edits it, and no, not my parents. Oh, okay. Well, thanks, sir. I should have called you up before I threw that out there. IP says, very interesting. Pray153 sends a heart. Pirate Heart says, daily protection, prayers for sure. Pray153 says, John Henry Weston is asking for prayers for his daughter. I saw that, and I immediately said a prayer for her. IPC channel says, well, Sayako says, I feel offended by that because I'm not like that. Did I say something? Sayako says, you got it the first try because we watch a lot of anime growing up. Oh, okay. Snowland says, it felt like a short walk. I didn't feel threatened. Okay, well, that's what I should have called you up and asked you about that. I didn't get the idea that you were threatened when you were walking to the police station. Very much unlike Dana's dream, where the people who are running away from the helicopter and the car and the lights and so on, they are definitely threatened. They're running for their lives. But, as I say, I think the red and the blue lights and the 3 vans, I think they represent God's will. In other words, Snowland is put in this prison, which is what it will be like under the reign of the Antichrist. She is put in the prison, and as we all will be, by God's will, and that you can survive, but you're going to have to do a lot of things you might not want to do. Okay, thanks for that, Snowland. That's exactly what I wanted to find out. I should have written down all my questions before. Pam McPherson says that unicorn and stickers represent political religious beliefs being forced upon her. Oh, okay, that's very possible. But I don't think it represents the mark of the beast, because they're not put on the forehead or the right hand. Not like Dana Coverstone's dream, where the blood is sprinkled on the forehead. That represents the mark of the beast. Sayako says, my sister barely sees the vortex, and we never heard of that African queen. Okay. I know, that was Michael Warris. I'm surprised he didn't get into a lot of trouble with that one. Pam McPherson says, that is woke, is the acceptance of transgender and pronoun nonsense. Oh, where was it? Well, it's woke now. Where was that in the dream? Who was it that woke up? Anyway, let's see what the anchor says. Mr. William, I think my sister kneeled because my sister is a small woman and skinny. That woman would have killed her. Okay, well, that's the point. Maybe I am sure that's why. Tony Garcia says, could it be Kamala Harris? Oh, that's interesting possibility, Tony. I didn't think about Kamala Harris. Yeah, maybe she's the African queen. Very interesting, Tony. I never thought of that. Snowland says, I don't know why. Oh, no. In other words, why did she kneel? And she says, I don't know why. And as I say, Snowland is not being just Snowland. She's being various types of Catholic responses. I'm sure Snowland would never think about committing suicide, for example. But very likely Catholics in the desert will consider suicide. So that's the so it isn't Snowland. I should probably make that more clear. If I had gone over this more than I did, I would have made that clear. Pam McPherson says the establishment is not giving her what she needed, but what they are forcing on her: switch and bait. Okay, that's a good point, Pam. Sayako says maybe it's patience and giving in to God. I'm not sure what you're saying there, Sayako. Let's see. My chat just took off, people, so wait a minute. I want to read what everybody's comments are. Well, Tony's idea that it could be camel is kind of interesting. Roar Lion says, pray for Mother Miriam. She had a colonoscopy, which went wrong and lacerated her spleen that bled. 2 hospitals, home recovering. Okay, yeah, we should pray for her mother, Miriam. That reminds me, Sam Fisher's program is coming up in less than an hour on D-Live, Pieta Rosary. So he has a lot of petitions over there, Roar Lion. You can add that petition to his program. Tina Sislo says, reminds me of Henry VIII and the turkey drumstick in the Holbein, or is it Reynolds' painting of him? Oh, that's a very interesting comment, Tina. I never thought of that. I'm not too familiar with that painting. Tina says, the only reason I can think of it being called a king. Yeah, I never heard that term. Neither had Snowland. That's one of the signs, by the way, that Snowland is not making any of this up. Because she says and does things which are totally nobody understands. So, I'm confident that both her dream and Dana's dream came from the Lord. I think that's true prophecy for us in these end times. Let's see. Snowland says, yeah, Tina, he really loved his drumstick. More humorous comments on this dream. Tina says, yep. Tina says that he preferred men. Oh, I don't know. Snowland didn't seem to indicate that the 2 men that came in with a woman were trans or anything. Sayako says, it was a strange dream, but I agree, and I think I'd be patient in giving it to God. As my sister said, in the end, it's time to call up for the Lord. Pam McPherson says, transgender could be any orientation. Yeah, right. Snowland said September the 13th, and that was when Snowland received her dream. And I don't think Dana has told us exactly when he received his dream, but maybe he did. I don't follow him on Facebook, for example. Snowland says, no, you haven't. I agree. Not sure what you're saying there, Snowland. Giuseppe says, well done, William. Thanks, Giuseppe. Sam says, my alarm did not go off. I am far away from home. I won't be home until around 8:30. Oh, sorry. So tonight, so you can't go to Sam's D-Live tonight because he's not going to be home until around 8:30 Eastern time. Okay, that's quite late. Tony says, would all of you like for me to be more specific with that dream that I had? It's not that long. Well, you can try, Tony. Sure. Write it out here. Tina says, that's okay, Sam. We'll be doing a rosary tonight. Pieta Rosary says, I'm going to start watching from the beginning. Okay. Thanks, Sam. Snowland says, thank you, everyone, and William for this. Well, thank you, Snowland. I really enjoyed your dream. I probably should have called you up tonight and cleared up those things, but this way you can correct me on here. Oh, Sayaka says, no, the dream. Oh, okay. Tony says, okay, Tina, I'll try and make it short, but with details. Oh, we're going to get an extra dream here, people. Going to get a dream from Tony. Violet Petals says, African Queen, wouldn't it be Michelle Obama? Oh, I didn't think about Michelle Obama. That's a good point, too. I feel Obama is in the background, like Akhenaten, I think his name was. Akhenaten, I think is the name. Okay, Tony is going to give us a dream. Okay. Tina Sizzle says, I also thought about Michelle Obama. Well, that never occurred to me. So that's why we do these public. That's why the reason I did this ahead of time, before I really had it all figured out, is so that we get input from everybody. Let me see. Okay, here's Tony's dream. Let's see. Have you got the whole dream up here yet, Tony? Here's Tony's dream. In the dream, my family and I got out of a blue minivan, and we saw people running around in circles and panicking. It was as if we were in Chicago because there were a lot of buildings. Okay, so you're not in Texas, Tony. You're in Chicago now in your dream. Tony says, we went to a big building that was a safe place for us. And I looked everywhere, and there were tornadoes and like a light brown type of vortex tornado. And I held the baby version of Mary and went inside, and we were safe in a cafeteria. Oh, I can see why you would be, why this dream of Snowland would remind you of your dream. Pieta says that Ruby wanted lasagna, and they took forever to prepare it. Okay, I don't know if we're going to get to the end of Tony's dream or not. Tina says, the comedian who was murdered always said that Michelle Obama was a man. Remember Joan Rivers? Oh, yeah, I remember seeing that. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but some people say that's what got her killed. Tony Garcia says, the color of the tornadoes and the vortex were light brown, and even though it was windy, it didn't get in our eyes. Snowland says, cafeteria is like a main theme in dreams. Well, I wouldn't know. I do know sometimes that if you dream about food, it means you're hungry. You're lying in bed and you probably ate your supper early and you're hungry. I do know that. That's not unusual. The other morning, this is kind of funny. I always test my blood in the morning for blood sugar because I'm diabetic. And in this dream, just before I woke up, I was dreaming about eating candy. I was in a car with a couple of other guys, and one of them had like peanut brittle, and but he knew I was diabetic, so he didn't offer me. And I said, I guess I'll try some of that. So he handed it to me. Well, it was kind of interesting peanut brittle because it was between the peanuts, instead of like a tan color, there was like a pink color, a reddish color. But it tasted good. Tasted really good. I had way too much of the peanut brittle in my dream. And I'm sure it was because I was getting hungry. So then I woke up. And I said, oh, darn it, now I can't test my blood sugar. I just ate candy. I mean, I'm fully awake when I say that. And then I said, well, wait a minute, that was just a dream. I don't have to worry about that. So I did check my blood sugar. And my blood sugar was quite low compared to what it had been the previous 3 or 4 days. Well, I'm sure the body was telling me that it needed some sugar to get it back up to what it should be, or what it was. So maybe when Snowland was hungry in her dream, maybe she was actually hungry. Okay, now here, does Tony give us the rest of the dream? I thought I'd put in a little filler talk about my dream so that we could finish Tony's dream. Molly May says, if it's a prophetic dream, Snowland, I have a couple of conclusions about it. Glad you prayed. The powerful weapon, more powerful than the African Queen Big Mouth. Yes, Snowland's got the right response, doesn't she? Violet Petal says Chicago is important because that is where Obama came from. Tony Garcia says, and when we were in the cafeteria, we felt safe. And that was the end of my dream. Well, that's interesting, Tony. It is similar to Snowland's dream. Sayaka says hospitals as well as what? Cafeterias? Tina says the cafeteria is the same as the waiting room. Could be. It's interesting that you called it a waiting room, although that's not unusual, but I get the feeling that in that case, Snowland was waiting for something in the waiting room with the nurse and the doctor, and they were all praying the rosary. Let's see, Tony says, also in that dream, and in other dreams that I have, I'm always walking, even though I don't walk currently. Yes, that's interesting, Tony. I hope you make it to a refuge because, according to John Leary, if you go to a refuge, you will be healed. People who have ailments will be healed in their refuges. Now, Snowland's dream is not about refuges. It's about surviving not in your refuge, I think. At least that's the way I interpret it. Okay, so I think that's all of the chat. So thanks, everybody. And I was going to remind you about Sam Fisher, but he's not going to evidently say his rosary until, well, it'll be at least an hour from now. So I'm not sure how he's going to let us know when he's going to say the rosary. I guess we just check DLive every now and then. Tina Sislo says, the waiting room is Mother Mary's mantle. Just an idea. That I wouldn't agree with that. The waiting room at the beginning, I think that could be any place. I think it means that I think the waiting room at the beginning is the Roman Catholic Church. That's why the nurse is saying the rosary, the doctor is saying the rosary, and Snowland is saying the rosary. But then Snowland discovers deception. And the nurse and the doctor who have been saying the rosary with her are not quite on the up and up. They are the ones who have been deceiving her. And there's a division there. And I think that division is in the Catholic Church. So then Snowland leaves, and she drives for a whole day, and she reaches the dark, which is the darkness of the tribulation. And she tries climbing a tree, but that's not the answer. And well, anyway, I'm not going to repeat the whole dream. If I don't make it to Sam Fisher's Rosary tonight, or none of us do, I will be back tomorrow morning bright and early for our live stream rosary on this channel. For those of you who are, I should give you my address. For those of you who are new, and whenever I do a pretty video like this, I get new people. So there's my address: William Tapley, Post Office Box 291, Osage, Iowa. And I will be back tomorrow morning bright and early on this channel. So until I do see all of you again, may God bless all of you, and may all of you have a very blessed